So welcome back to the BiOptimizers Healing Health and High Performance Program. And today I'm so excited because we've brought Matt Gallant back, my business partner at BiOptimizers. And today we're going to do a lesson in lipids. And just to share a personal story with you before we get into the gold here is, you know, when I started out in my journey to health and high performance, I was taught in the old school of bodybuilding, like high protein, high carbohydrate, extremely low fat regimen, and it was effective for losing body fat, but I can tell you I suffered the consequences of omitting fats from my life. And even today, I have to consciously make the decision to incorporate fats. And I've got to share with you that one of the people that really positively influenced me was Matt, because he was a fats guy, as we'd say. He'll talk more about that, but he started sharing with me the benefits that fats would do for brain function, for health and happiness and longevity and all these type of things. And I had a lot of resistance to it. Because I was in that rigid position of learning from one way of doing things, I had some resistance. But as I started to incorporate this slowly but surely, I started to realize the wisdom of what he was talking about. So if you come from one of those schools, incorporate it. If you're in one of those schools, I think Matt's going to share with you some absolute gems that you're going to be implementing in your life right away. So without any further ado, let's get to the lesson on lipids. Matt, go.
I think, it's one thing to hear you talk about you, but I want to just talk about how you looked to the people outside of you. So I was friends with Wade, and then I saw him reduce his fats, right? So you cut down your fats to get ready for the bodybuilding show. And I really saw the brain just drop. I saw the lights get dimmer and dimmer to the point where you would have been a great extra on The Walking Dead. Yeah. Wade would walk in the gym and I'd say, "Hey, how's it going, bro?" I'd say, "Yeah, it's another day in paradise, bro." So that was Wade, and it was a great lesson for me, because I saw, wow, okay, I don't want that result. I mean, yeah, you looked great,
yeah,
but the brain wasn't really functioning. Now, on the flip side too, I was studying, and not just studying, but I was doing high-fat diets and getting great results. So I really got deep into fats, and we could talk many hours about it, but I just want to give you guys the most critical factors. So let's start with the bad fats.
Right, let's go there.
Let's go with the fats that ideally you avoid, and there's only really one, and that is hydrogenated fats, trans fats. So the problem is, number one, they're really inflammatory, and in general, inflammation is very bad. But the other real issue is, let's say you go to your favorite fast food restaurant and you eat fries. That trans fatty acid is going to stay in your body for over 100 days. 100 days. We're not talking about, you're going to digest it and then go to the bathroom in 24, 48 hours. It doesn't work that way. It stays in the body a very, very, very long time. So I've got a top 10 food list here that I'm going to share with people of stuff to avoid or minimize. Listen, right? I mean, the holidays comes, it's your birthday, it's a party, there's nothing wrong once in a while, but obviously you're going to create some serious health problems if this top 10 list is staples in your diet.
All right, so
here we go.
Hit us with the top 10.
French fries. And French fries, we're going to expand at deep fried foods in fast food restaurants. And the reason is not because of the potato, it's because of the oils. They're using really low quality, cheap, garbage oils. So my advice, and this is one of our philosophies, is don't eliminate, upgrade, and replace. So if you love French fries, take some coconut oil and make them at home. You don't need to cut out French fries. Just don't be eating French fries at McDonald's every day. That's number one. Number two, pie crust. Pie crust, because, anything that has shortening in it. I don't know about you, but I grew up, my grandmother, the Crisco was always on the counter, and she'd be force feeding me pies. And if I didn't eat a piece of pie, she'd be offended, right? So I don't know how you grew up, but I grew up around pie crust and shortening. So shortening has hydrogenated fat. So avoid that. And again, can you make pie crust without it? Absolutely. And this is part of your journey. Next one is ice creams. Some ice creams have it, some don't. Look at the label, and I'm going to tell you right now, as a general rule, if it doesn't say that it does not contain them, you can assume that it does. I mean, obviously you can read the label and it'll tell you, but that's a safe assumption, because the food companies will always praise whatever they don't have, right? It's gluten-free, it's lactose-free, it's soy-free, it's whatever. So if it doesn't say it's trans fat-free, probably has trans fats. Next is microwave popcorn. Again, another bad one, and again, another simple one to fix. I think homemade popcorn tastes so much better. Get some GMO-free kernels, throw some coconut oil in the pan, cover it. When it's done, throw some Himalayan sea salt on it, or some Himalayan salt, or some sea salt, a little bit of apple cider vinegar spray, and it tastes amazing, right? You've had that.
Yep.
I think far better than any microwave crap you're gonna get.
Fantastic, yeah.
Next is cookies and cakes. I'm talking about Oreos, and I'm also talking about even a lot of the homemade, like Duncan Hines. I grew up on Duncan Hines too. That was another one. I mean, me and Duncan were pretty deep. So that's another one to watch. Next, breakfast sandwiches is another big one. I know a lot of people love to spin through the drive-through and pick up their favorite breakfast sandwiches. Next, Slim Jim, Macho Man's favorite. Slim Jims, these weird mystery meat type sticks. Yeah. A lot of hydrogenated fats there, a lot. And once you get used to it, I'll tell you something that I've developed. I can tell you a food that has it just from the how it feels in the mouth. There's kind of a slick oil type texture that happens in your mouth when you when you eat hydrogenated fat. Same thing with vegetable oils. Like if you take a chocolate that has vegetable oil in it, you'll feel like almost like oil in your mouth. Like it's really slick. So pay attention to that texture. Next, crackers. A lot of people love crackers. That's another big one. And the last but not least is frozen dinners. So obviously frozen dinners is better to eat things fresh. So those are the top 10 things that you might want to minimize in your diet and avoid.
And a lot of this stuff when you start out is do the once a week strategy, right?
Right.
Delay it. Don't repress it completely. Delay it, because there's a physiological addiction that happens with trans fatty acids, and especially if it's combined with sugar. It's the equivalent of a dose of a opiate drug, or like crack or something like that for your brain. It's that addictive in your brain. It's what the latest neurophysiology is starting to talk about. So understanding that the reason they put these in these foods, one, it increases profitability. Two, it increases addiction. So by suspending that to at least once a week, I find that you start developing a more awareness of the negative effects of those foods and the positive effects of the foods that we recommend in the BiOptimization program.
No doubt about it. All right, next is fats in moderation. So these are good fats, they're not bad fats. You might not want to be pounding them all the time. So first one is omega-6, which is found in red meat, safflower, canola. The issue with it is that if you take too much, again, it's going to inflame the body. You're going to have inflammation. So that is something to minimize. The other one is saturated fats. So saturated fats, got a bad rap for a long time, but recent research is saying, and this is straight out of the 2010 American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, they said that there's no significant evidence that we can point to that it enhances coronary heart disease. So that's something to be aware of, that it got villainized because people didn't understand fat. And this is something that I think I just want to go on a tangent for 2 seconds. And that's to say that everything in health and nutrition is always to be held provisional, which means that next week we might discover something that obsoletes everything that we're saying. That's just the nature of things, because there's so much that we don't know, right?
The other thing, of course, is when you're looking at research and study, there's a difference between a scientific study or periodical or journal, note versus real world, testing for yourself. For example, there you can introduce a nutrient, a product, a food into your life at a certain period of time, and that is going to produce an incredible result. Mm-hmm. Or conversely, you could have a negative food that depending on the health of the individuals is going to impact significantly or marginally on that individual. So what I'm saying is that you always have to take in context the person. That's why we do recommend individualized testing and tracking your results, especially when you start out and going through this process. And to add to the saturated fats, one of the things that I found personally by adding some saturated fats into my diet, and I do really well on saturated fats, I don't know why that is, it's my biochemistry, is a real significant boost in hormone health. And testosterone levels for me are almost perfectly concordant by the amount of saturated fats I take into the system. If I feel my testosterone levels dropping off a little bit, I start pounding things like coconut oil, things like that, and all of a sudden I feel that spike. Or even if I go out on a spike day and I'm eating some of the bad fats that we were kind of talking about, I do that sometimes. So I want to be. We're talking about, you don't have to be a food monk.
Yeah, we are not saints.
No, we enjoy those dives into the dumpster of bad foods, if you will. What was really surprising to me when I first did that, when I was on my strict regimen and I'd go for that big load day, and I'd have some of these bad fats and a lot of these saturated fats and things like that, my testosterone would spike radically and I would feel the difference almost instantly, and you'd see the difference in my physiology. And I didn't figure that out until later on when we started diving more into the research. So there again, it's always within context of the program that you're on and where you are in your health journey.
Well, I'm going to share a deep insight that most people, I don't think, know. So I like ketogenic diets, and this video is not about ketogenic diets, but
what's a ketogenic diet for those who don't know?
Great question. Ketogenic diet means that your body is operating on ketones, and for that to happen, you need your carbs down to about 20 grams a day, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's nothing. Okay, we're talking. You eat a salad, it's more than that with no fruits, no nothing. So you're basically eating fish and meats and eggs, butter, bacon. That's really the diet. But just to finish one point on the saturated fats, nothing would get me in ketosis. Nothing would function better on that diet than saturated fats. So I'm talking, and I'm really talking about eating like chunks of fat off of a ribeye or off the lamb or whatever. Lean cuts, unfortunately, didn't give me the same results. And this is not opinions. I would take blood samples and measure my ketones before and after the meals and track what worked. So point is, for those of you that are experimenting with ketogenic diets, make sure that you've got a lot of saturated fats. All right, next is the best. So now we're going to talk about the great stuff, the best of the best. First is monosaturated, which is avocados, olives, all the good ones in that category. Next, omega-3s. Top 3 foods there is flaxseed, chias, and seafood. And then the other one that deserves its own category, in my opinion, because it is different, is coconut oil. And coconut oil, yes, it's a saturated fat, but it's also what they call a MCT, medium chain triglyceride, which means that your body's going to use that for fuel very quickly compared to a normal fat. So, there's a lot of health books that have been written about coconut oil. There's no doubt that it's a very special oil. Anything you want to talk about in terms of these great fats?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things that come to mind is when it comes down to cooking, and one of the great benefits of coconut oil is that it doesn't go rancid when you're cooking. And there's another oil that I've discovered recently called camelina oil, and it was used in cooking, centuries ago. It's now starting to make an emergence in Canada, and I've used it. I think it's heat resistance up to 450 degrees. Has a really lovely taste, and it has what I think is the perfect ratio of 3, 6, and 9s.
Nice.
Plant-based source. I'm always looking for plant-based sources for my fats. So coconut oil and camelina oil. Do your frying or cooking or baking stuff. If you can use those oils, I think that's a big advantage, because those fats in the pan, that's the rancidity that creates those, trans fatty acids or hydrogenated fats, or those really big damagers.
One last thing, and I should have brought it up right out of the gate, and that's the debate between margarine and butter. And
right, that's a big one.
Yeah, so let's clear that one up. So I go to my parents' home. I live in Panama. My parents live in Canada, East Coast, and I go see them a couple times a year. And it's funny because I told my parents the right answer. My dad's still on the bad stuff, which is margarine. And why is it bad stuff? And that is because it does have trans fats in it. So trans fats are part of margarine, and butter has saturated fats. And again, there was a time where saturated fats got vilified. But again, do your research, Google it. You will see that saturated fats have been released from the prison, and it's good stuff. And also butter, especially if you can get grass-fed butter. I love Kerrygold, it's very good stuff. It does have some extra fatty acids which produce some health benefits, and butter in general is also rich in selenium, which is good for the heart. So there's a lot of good benefits with butter, and there's almost zero benefits. In fact, I would say it's very bad for you to eat margarine.
2 more fats I want to bring to our consumers' attention that I've had great results were, and number 1 is hemp oil.
Mm-hmm.
Hemp oil is, again, another versatile, comes from the production of hemp protein. They take an oil off it, and that is an amazing oil as well. Has all kinds of benefits, a nice profile of 3, 6s, and 9s. I love it, use it regularly. I put it on salads and things like that. I have a salad every day, and hemp oil is my number 1 oil of choice on that. And also, I did a lot of research in Ayurvedic philosophy, which is the Indian system of health and vitality. And one of the key nutrients they use to drive things into the cell for fatty acid delivery systems and for nutrient loading was ghee. And ghee, you want to talk a little bit about ghee?
No, I want you to talk about ghee.
Great. Okay, so ghee is what they call, sometimes it's referred to as clarified butter. So they take it through a process to change the butter into a better delivery system for nutrients and herbs, and it's been used in India for about 6,000 years. And it's really an amazing product. There's some products out there that'll have some herbs mixed into it. It has a really rich flavor. And it's another tool in the toolbox. Sometimes, for whatever reason, you might have one of the oils that we recommended or suggested on here might not agree with your constitution for some reason. What we have found is a lot of people do really well on ghee, and particularly people that have slow metabolisms, people that have trouble, low thyroid, things like that. I've used ghee as a tool in the toolbox for helping people with that, just adding a bit every day and start increasing the doses 1, 2, 3 times a day, especially if you're in cold climates, have thyroid conditions, which is prolific nowadays with thyroid conditions. Adding a little bit this into your dietary regimen can have a very, very positive effect on metabolism and on thyroid function. So be sure to check some of the links and topics that we talk about this amazing fat.
Yeah, so listen, guys, the strategy in terms of application is go buy Kerrygold butter, ghee, coconut oil, go get all the different types of fats and learn to cook with it. Learn to throw it in your shakes. Learn to prepare recipes with it. Use it as your salad dressings. It's not hard. It's actually really simple and easy to make a world-class salad dressing using a couple of these oils. You throw in a little bit of herbs and a little bit of salt, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, and you just put it in your salad, and it's going to taste better than any salad dressing that's out there. And let me tell you right here, right now, 95% of the salad dressings in the grocery store are absolute crap. Okay, absolute crap. I mean, they are counterproductive. So if you're destroying the value of your salads by adding 300 calories of bad fats, do yourself a favor and just upgrade that. I mean, that alone will make a massive difference in the next 12 months. I think a lot of people blow their diets simply with the sauces and the dressings. Like, people don't understand. Listen, I got a spoon here, okay? Now, this is actually a teaspoon, but I mean, people put, on average, I would guesstimate it, and you and I have both been to Whole Foods many times, and I've watched people put dressings on stuff. And obviously, you go to restaurants. Like, you can go to Wendy's, for an example, and the salad that they'll give you with the dressing has as many calories as the double, Wendy's Baconator with fries and a cola. So that's how much calories can be in a dressing. It's really simple to cut your calories down, and I call it using the minimal amount of dressing to achieve a flavor. You know what I mean? Like, people just drown their salads with way too much. Like, you can still enjoy the salad and get the flavor by putting a third, first of all, and then second of all, upgrade the dressing to have, better fats. Because even, listen, Wade and I love Whole Foods, but even there, look at the ingredients. A lot of the dressings have bad fats in them. So you got to be careful. The world's a minefield. There's bad stuff everywhere, and you got to learn to read labels. So we'll do another video on reading labels another time. But you got to take responsibility and make sure you look at stuff.
Yeah, my go-to on the road whenever I'm in a restaurant or situation, or go to even Whole Foods or whatever, it's always olive oil and vinegar.
Yeah.
I mean, you just never go wrong with those two things, and it just eliminates the potential for mistakes, because the reality is 95%, as you said, at least 95%, that's a conservative estimate, are containing fats that aren't going to support your health, not going to support your vitality, certainly are not going to make you a high performance.
I want to drop another gem that most people are not aware of, and that's the majority of olive oils on the market are spiked. Okay, so now I'm going on a tangent, but we're talking about fats, and we're here to give you the best of the best information. So I'm going to tell you right now, avoid most of the stuff from Italy. I'll probably be barred from Italy. They'll probably flag me if I ever fly in. But listen, I know for a fact, because I've been to Spain, I've been to the olive orchards, and I've had fresh olive oil. I'm talking fresh press. And once you taste a fresh pressed olive oil, once you know what that tastes like, you can instantly, number one, see and taste what bad olive oil tastes like. Olive oil is not yellow, folks. If you're looking at the bottle and it's yellow, right there, don't even worry about it. Avoid it. Second, you got to go with the flavor. Now, olive oil, real olive oil, is actually spicy. It's got a real peppery bite to it. So that's what you're looking for. If you're tasting olive oil and it doesn't have a lot of kind of that peppery bite aftertaste, it's probably fake. What I've found in general is the stuff from Spain is way more legit in general than the stuff from Italy. But again, you almost have to literally try it and feel it. There's some good stuff out of California. I've had some really good olive oils in California. But again, you have to try it. If you're not tasting that bite in the back of your throat, it's fake, folks. So again, buyer beware. We're here to educate you guys. Thanks a lot.
Well, there you have it. So that's a lesson in lipids. I want to thank you, Matt, for joining us again today and sharing such wisdom with us. I hope you, the viewer, have learned something today and are starting applying this. And I know we covered a lot of things. So basically, you can review this anytime you want and just start, like Matt said, just get started, experiment a little bit, see which fats work best for you, try replacing some of the old cooking stuff with some of the things that don't produce rancidity, and play around with it. Make your dressings. Try things as you go out and start asking questions everywhere you go. And you'll be surprised about, 3, 6, 12 months now, just like I learned that anybody can learn these processes and develop the acute awareness that someone like Matt has developed in some of our staff. So I want to thank you again, Matt, and I want to encourage you out there, the viewer, to continue on the program. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the next lesson.